Thank you, Chair. We are now live.
Thank you, Katie. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining SACRE meeting tonight. I welcome you all. And we have got a quite full agenda today, so I will try to make this meeting as speedy as possible. And I hope all you are well and your families are well. Can I just start by some apologies, and Emma Lauder may be late if she's not still there. Yeah, and is there any other apology, Katie? Yeah, and
yes, that's correct.
Is there any other apology, Katie?
So Kazim Minhas has also given his apologies. And sorry, Chair, just whilst I'm speaking, I was getting a bit of background interference. So may I just suggest to everyone, please turn your microphones off unless you are speaking. Yes, that's correct. So I don't know if that would be a problem to other people.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, this is the first Zoom meeting, we don't usually do the Zoom meeting, but because so many external peoples are there, so we thought with the help of officers, we suggested like we should do Zoom meeting, and I'm sure everybody will be all right with that. In terms of apologies, I just wanted to make sure today is a long-standing confusion between two Marks, Mark Poljan and other Mark. So could you introduce yourself, because it was a confusion this last couple of meetings. Mark Poljan.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I've been attending for the last year and a half, and I represent the Church of England in Ealing Deanery, and yeah, I've been always who I am, with my name fully on it, but I don't think I was recorded at the last meeting.
Yeah, that was a confusion. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
Another Mark, please.
Hello. Yes. Mark Newton to your...
Right. Thank you. Your sound is a bit delayed, but thank you for your introduction. Right. Okay. If that's okay, just is there any urgent matter member wanted to discuss? I have not been notified, so I would assume there is none. Thank you. Declaration of any interest, if you have any? No. Matter to be considered in private, is there any matter? No. So now, are you happy with the minute from the last meeting? Right.
Agreed.
No. So
sorry, Chair, can I just stop you there, please? I'm getting very bad interference.
Sorry, Katie, you are saying something?
I'm getting extremely bad interference. I don't know if anyone else is at all, but I can hear you speaking and then somebody else speaking. It's echoing. Sorry, Chair, can I just stop you there, please?
All the mics are off, Katie.
I think Councillor Midas is not muted, but that's the only one.
But your background is very silent.
Can you hear okay? Maybe it's just my system.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's okay for me. I wonder if it's because you're
streaming it out to YouTube. I wonder if you've got a tab with the YouTube video on as well. I know I've done that in the past when I've been streaming things.
Here, okay. Maybe I'll have a look. Thank you. System.
Right. Okay. Can we continue, Katie? All good?
Shall I put the minutes up on the screen?
Yes, please.
Everybody okay with those?
Hello.
Yes,
Just to say, yeah, I was down in that meeting, but I'm not recorded as being down in that meeting. So I think that was where the confusion came in. There's a Mark Newton and a Mark Paulson, both of us representing the Church of England, but we were both categorically there for that meeting.
So your presence, it could be, yeah, that's right. So there is a correction, and your presence should be recorded in the minute.
Yeah, and I did sort of write that in several times as well. So I'm surprised it's not down there, but that's okay.
I'm extremely sorry, Mark.
No, don't worry. I'm not taking any offence. It's just that I did honestly write in as well to say that I was categorically there.
Yeah, no, Mark. I think we did note that. I'm not sure why it wasn't recorded. I don't know. There was a reason for it, but we can record it in this one now.
Thank you.
So if that matter is resolved, are we happy to approve the minute? Yeah.
Yes.
Read on the minute, yeah. Okay, thank you. Right, Angela, we are agreed on the minute.
Yeah, I'm just
Chair, may I just suggest that in the list of attendees, I notice they are listed alphabetically. I think for the way in which SACRE works, which is with 4 constituent groups, it's often helpful to be members listed by group, just so that we can immediately see if the meeting was quorate or otherwise, and so on, and we know who is representing which nominating body, whether that's a teaching union, one of the faith traditions, or the local council.
Thank you, Leslie. It's a good suggestion. Right, so if the minute matter has resolved, so I would ask Angela to just give us some idea about our work plan for 2021. Angela, could you please come on that?
Yeah. Okay, so the idea with this item is just really to take the areas of responsibility of SACRE and to try and show how we're going to approach them across the year. So to give some kind of structure to the meetings, and so that we have a bit of an idea in advance what we're doing. So, for example, on the one of the items on our meeting today is about the collective worship guidance, and the idea is we bring it to this meeting, and then we'll have some draft guidance at the spring meeting and the final guidance in the summer meeting. So it's just a way of structuring things and to make sure that we cover all of our business. And the second thing is to actually look at all of the documents that we have a look at in SACRE and look at who's responsible for them, because one of the, and it's something we'll come to in the item on the Constitution, it's not been entirely clear about who's meant to be doing what in terms of all of the people involved with SACRE. And in this final column, what I've also put down, and it will be something that we'll come to during the meeting, is to say if we have got particular items, then there may be SACRE members who'd be willing to participate outside of the meeting in terms of helping with those documents. So, for example, the guidance documents, again, it's on the agenda. There may be particular ones where people wish to participate and to give their views on it. So it's just really for information, this, and to see if you think it's and we've got the dates on for publication. So it's just one document where we have a summary of our work for the year. And of course we can review it, but it does allow us, we can kind of rag rate it and make sure that we've covered all of our business during the year. It's just a kind of structuring document.
Right. Is there any question about the work plan 2021?
It's excellent.
Right. Thank you very much, Angela.
You're welcome.
So if there is no question on that work plan 2021, now we are considering item 7, which is collective worship. And I would ask Leslie to take on that, please.
Thank you, Councillor Mahmood. SACREs are responsible for advising the local authority on religious education and also on collective worship. Now, this SACRE was engaged for much of last academic year on focusing on RE because of the review of the locally agreed syllabus and subsequent production of a new syllabus. And now it seems appropriate, therefore, to revisit some existing materials produced by my predecessor, Nora Leonard, that relate to collective worship. She had written a document on reflection, as she called this activity that goes on in schools. And that document is still currently available on the Ealing website and can be accessed by schools. But it's something that perhaps it is appropriate to revisit and revise. So to that end, I have had a recent meeting with 2 members, both of whom I think are present this evening. Dr. Marian Eisen from the Jewish community and Oliver Murphy from West London Humanists, both members of Group A. And I asked them to work on this with me because they had already done so much around determinations in relation to collective worship. So it seemed appropriate to ask them to continue. I'm not sure if this original document came before SACRE for its approval. It certainly wasn't tabled for discussion during my work for the SACRE. But as I say, it was created some time ago. So I'm going to ask Marianne now to just speak briefly in a moment about what we've done so far. We have really literally just begun this process. What we've done is to look at the existing Ealing guidance in this document that you can see on the screen. We've also looked at guidance from several other local authorities, Newham in East London, Westminster and Hounslow. Many local authorities ask their SACREs to produce guidance on collective worship for schools. So this is something that we are doing in conjunction with looking at existing good practice elsewhere, in addition to the existing good practice in our own schools. I think what the SACRE has learned through the process of schools applying for determinations is that often they need a great deal of support in relation to what they're offering for collective worship. This is through no fault of the schools, but I know from my own background in training teachers, both initial teacher training and continuing professional development, that there is very little, if any, support at all given to teachers to equip them to deliver the statutory legal requirement, which is to offer an act of collective worship for all pupils every day. So I think this guidance, I hope, will be welcomed by schools. So Marianne and indeed Oliver, if you would like to, with our chair's permission, just share what's been done so far.
Indeed, Miriam, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Leslie. we've had, as Leslie said, we have had one meeting to discuss this, and we've looked at guidance from other authorities, and our background in this is having visited schools and seeing that many schools have perfectly effective periods of reflection in our experience of visiting for determinations. This document, however, which is their guidance, is very long, and there is a lot in it that is, to use the word padding, I suppose, that it's very long and very complex in some places, with a lot of detail, which is welcome. But if a school needs a skeleton of a document, then this document needs some attention. So the idea was to start with this document because clearly it's got some very, very useful information in it, to look at the document, to really to cut out everything except what is the skeleton of the advice. And once we've got that, we would like to see what we feel we want to retain, what we want to add to, in the light of our experience of having visited schools over the last few years and having spent time discussing the new approved syllabus. So all that has happened so far is that this document has been looked at and it's been précis, and the précis is what we're going to use next to come to some decision about how we want to flesh this out and provide further advice.
While you're speaking, Marianne, we've already received some further advice via email from one of our members, Lakshman. So thank you very, very much. I will forward that to Marianne and Oliver. So I don't know if any members have any questions, or if anyone would like to join us in our little working party developing this, or if Oliver is there. I did see him a little while ago online, but I'm not sure if he's there now.
Oliver, are you happy to contribute?
Yes, I am here.
Good.
Actually.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yes, I mean, we had, as Marianne said, we decided to start off with the existing document and really try and retain some of I think, the spirit of it, because it very effectively lays out, I think, a very Ealing dimension of inclusivity and the broadness of belief. And that's really what we were hoping to retain here. But on top of that, of course, we have gone through the Hounslow document, and I think they have got lots of very good things, got a very good list of things to celebrate. The Westminster SACRE document has got a particularly good thing about the things of the spirit. So there are various elements there that we would hope to incorporate into a draft.
So our hope is that we will work on a text and perhaps circulate that by email in advance of the next SACRE meeting. And then I would guess if we adhere to Angela's very carefully thought out schedule, we should be making a decision on the final version of it within this academic year, and then of course posting the updated materials on the Ealing Grid for Learning, and making sure that schools are aware that they exist. Does anyone have any questions or any contributions to make?
Leslie and Chair, I'm very happy to join the little working party, having been a practicing head for many years and worked this through with teachers, you know, the practical side of it. So yeah, I'm very happy to join the working party.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Any other contribution?
It's Luxman here.
Yeah,
I thought it was an excellent document. I just wanted to ask how this works presently in schools. What happens every day in the Ealing schools presently?
Yeah, Leslie, that is the very valid question Lakshman is asking. So presently we cannot go to school and our observer cannot go there. So what do you think about that? How we could liaise with the schools in terms of determination?
I I think this is not so much in relation to determinations, but in relation to the guidance in general. Is that right, Lakshman?
Yeah, that's right. I just wanted an idea of what happens in the school today.
I think it would be very difficult to give precise information about schools in Ealing, but I think my experience generally over many years and in a range of different local authorities would indicate that primary schools particularly are probably quite good at having some kind of set time within the day, which they may call an assembly rather than collective worship. And it probably is something that's more secular and less reflective. That's often the case. And although this is a legal requirement and the law on RE hasn't changed, so that's why we're looking at some documents that are actually documents that have been around since the early 90s. But because the law on RE has not been touched for many years, the same requirements are in place. I sometimes find it interesting that one of the fundamental British values which all schools are supposed to be promoting is respect for the law, and yet many of those schools are probably breaking the law on collective worship. That isn't a criticism. It's said very sympathetically for the reason that I outlined earlier on, which is, I think, that teachers and other staff feel very nervous of this area. Perhaps even more nervous than they are about RE in some cases. And they also feel, as I say, not only nervous, but ill-equipped because they've received no or very little training in this. So it's hugely challenging for them. So I think it's entirely right that the SACRE should try and support them as much as it possibly can. Schools that submit applications for a determination in relation to collective worship do have to put the spotlight on their provision in this area. And I think what this document will do is offer something not only to them, but also to schools that don't apply for determinations. And finally, the other point I would make is that lots of schools at the moment, particularly, in these days of COVID, are recognizing the importance of offering some brief moments in the day where pupils can be thoughtful and reflective. It's what I would call a pause button moment in the sort of fast forward life of the school. And in many schools, there's an interest in mindfulness, in philosophy for children, and maybe collective worship can forge some links with those other agendas and make a really valuable contribution to the life of a school, but probably it's not covered substantially in many schools at the moment. Not as collective worship. Assemblies, yes, but maybe not that collective worship element.
Thank you. Yep, it's a good idea anyway.
Thank you.
Any other question on that?
Hi, my name's Laurie Greenglass. Hello. I just have a comment to make, if that's all right. I'll turn my camera on so everyone can see me. Hold on, because I'm new. There you go. Hello.
Yeah.
We know a couple of people. Yeah, I'm a head teacher currently at one of our Southall schools, and just kind of like following on from what Leslie was saying is, yeah, we all have the best. We all want to do collective worship, and yeah, definitely schools understanding, especially primary schools, of what it is and training definitely is needed, but also with all the things that we're asked to do in the day, like with all the different lessons that we're asked to teach. And then a lot of schools will make sure that in the timetables that the children are doing maybe at least 10-15 minutes of story time every day. Things tend to get like knocked off basically, and staff members, rightfully so, like they come and they're like, I can't fit this in. How am I going to do this lesson? How am I going to do 5 minutes of times table practice and 10 minutes of handwriting, and do you know what I mean, things like that. So yeah, it is really, really tricky. and I don't know how we get around it. I think it's a national issue, to be honest. I think schools everywhere, teachers will be finding it hard. I don't think it's just in Ealing, but I guess the rules in doing it are the rules in doing it. We can't change them. If that the expectation is obviously it has to be done. It's just, I guess, like finding clever ways to do it.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's really useful to hear, Laurie. Thank you. Except for the big set piece occasions, for example, you know, Diwali is imminent. Actually, there's no time requirement for collective worship in schools. So my two little mantras would be, you know, quality, not quantity, and short and sweet. You know, although, as I say, when there's a big set piece occasion, of course, schools want to mark major festivals and so on. I think schools find this difficult too, because there's very little published material, either online or in book form, that they can use to support them in this area. What does exist tends to be very focused on more explicitly Christian material. Now, while some of that will be useful some of the time in Ealing schools, the nature of the community in this borough would mean that, you know, would be wanting schools perhaps to draw on, even without a determination, a much wider range of source material from different religions and worldviews. So the document should, you know, offer some practical help, some thoughts on what this is. It's difficult to define it, admittedly. But yeah, it's a starting point, and presumably, you know, we could perhaps take this to the subject networks. I know if you're an RE lead, you're not necessarily responsible for collective worship, but it would be helpful to get a perspective from teachers, and maybe the head teachers group as well. You might like to speak to that at some point at a head teacher.
Yeah, I can share it like with the Southall quadrant for sure, and then I can get it sent round to other head teacher quadrants for them to talk about alongside all the COVID things. It'll be a nice refreshing change from talking about COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I can definitely get it sent round for them to look at and give ideas and comments and stuff. That's not a problem.
Thank you. So we'll let people have a draft of the document when Oliver, Marianne, Liz and I have worked on it, and anyone else who would like to join. Thank you.
Chair, can I make one more quick point?
Go on, Lakshman, please.
Yeah, what really excited me about reading this document was that, because I come from a Buddhist background, and mindfulness and meditation is kind of all wrapped up with some Buddhist thinking as well. So this to get the pupils in a secular way, not necessarily Buddhism, but in a secular way, to calm themselves in the mornings after they've been rushed into school, you know, with their parents, and their heads are spinning, to calm them down and to prepare them for the rest of the day, and to kind of let them release any tension that they have built up would be an excellent idea, and it would be very useful for the rest of the day for the whole school, I guess.
Right. Good contribution, Lakshman. Is there any other question, or Angela, do you want to come on the update determination schedule, or?
Yes, and Leslie we can sort of share this one. The point with this, in the last meeting, the DFE had given notice that we could defer the times of the determinations, and so schools that were due to put them in the summer, we said they weren't going to submit until March 2021. But this, and apparently the DFE wants schools to submit them now. I'm not sure how practical that is, so that's one thing to think about. But if we do go ahead, sorry, this is very difficult to see on here, but this is part of our determination little flow chart. And one of the, so I think there's two things, and Laurie actually is one of the head teachers in that list, actually, at the bottom, in terms of having the determination coming up soon, is A, will schools be in a position to be putting together the documentation? And so they are, because in fact, schools are doing a huge amount on top of COVID. Anyway, so if somebody has someone with the responsibility for it, they may well feel that they're quite okay in terms of capacity to do that. But the part of the process that won't be possible, I don't think, in the spring term and even possibly in the summer, is the visit to school. And we have certain SACRE members who've done the determination visits to schools where the schools presented their paperwork and then shown examples of materials, but also given the members an opportunity to attend an assembly, for example. So I think one of the things that I'm asking really is if members who've done those determination visits, would they be willing to review the documentation in advance and then have a telephone conversation or an online conversation with the head teacher rather than visiting the school? So it's just really a bit of feedback on that, and possibly from Laurie as the practicing head teacher here as to, I mean, she can probably only speak for herself, but about the preparation for the determination renewal.
Right. On that point, Angela, thank you so much. But I just wanted to get the opinion from Laurie, and then I would like to know more about this process from Marion and Oliver as well. So Laurie, what do you think about that situation?
Yeah, I mean, seeing as my school is on the list, I mean, not until June, but we're there. So that's good to remember that we're on that. Thanks very much. I definitely think that conversations with the head teachers, yes. I mean, to be honest, with enough notice, I don't see that there's any reason why schools can't prepare things to send over in terms of like pictures of, you know, like images that are in like exercise books. Because I remember the last time we had ours done, I'm sure I was involved in that. And whoever came to look at our schools, we looked through like evidence of exercise books and talked about what we did in collective worship and what we did in assemblies. There are obviously some schools are doing it differently. There are some schools that are doing like live assemblies where the head teacher is doing it kind of like from their office and it's being videoed or put on Zoom to all the classes. So it could be a...
Sorry, if you're not speaking, so could you mute the mic, please? Thank you.
So there are some head teachers who are doing that. So it could be a case of someone like joining and kind of watching it as you know, observing it, kind of. There are some schools where they're putting their assemblies up on the websites and stuff like that. We're putting the children's class assemblies up on the websites. So we've already got Guy Fawkes, and then the Diwali one will be going up in a couple of days so that the parents can watch them. People are doing it very differently, but I definitely think a conversation with the head teachers, or if there's like a specific person other than the head teacher who's responsible for it, is definitely a good idea. But I also think potentially like a pre-conversation before the actual conversation, just so that there's a discussion around what's already happening, what is their evidence of that they can see for the determination, and what needs to be still like collected or put together. So potentially 2 conversations.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Laurie, they would complete, the school would still complete the determination application and provide the evidence. And the point, and one of the points in terms of giving enough notice is it has to be approved by the governors. And so we need to make sure if anybody is on the list that they do have a governing board meeting in the meantime. So I think an initial conversation to say to the schools, are you okay with this in this time scale? And then a second one, just explaining that second part of it about the conversation, if the SACRE members are happy to do that conversation.
Yeah, I think schools would struggle if, like you were saying, the DfE was saying that they want them done now kind of thing. I think schools would struggle now in terms of the autumn term to get stuff together, just because obviously there's a lot going on and people are kind of like, diaries are filling up and things are happening and events and stuff like that. But as long as there was notice for the spring, I don't think it would be a massive issue unless things dramatically took a turn for the worse.
Yeah, I think everything has to be with a caveat of this may not happen. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
May I just add to that, Angela? The DfE, when I spoke to an official there, said that schools with determinations that were approaching the renewal point, which is every 5 years, would be allowed in the circumstances in which we have been finding ourselves to have a delay on that. It wasn't a change in legislation. It was just what I think we were calling, if you like, a period of grace where an existing determination would be allowed to continue as long as SACRE could be certain that a renewal would be pending when circumstances allowed. So I think to expect schools to submit for this meeting would have been too much. But if we are not meeting in the spring until March, schools whose current determinations have technically already expired should be renewing by then. And of course, we've got very detailed guidance here to take people through the process. And in addition, if any school wanted extra advice and support in advance of preparing documentation, then I'm happy to offer that where and when I can. But traditionally, it is SACRE members who've looked at the documentation, spoken to the head, and observed collective worship going on in a school. If they can do the observation virtually by looking at collective worship that schools have posted online, then that would be great. But if that's not possible, then it's not possible, and plans and so on could be looked at instead if a site visit is not feasible at the present time.
Fine. Thank you, Leslie. That's a good suggestion. So what is my understanding is that we are considering two-way approach on that. So if our next meeting will not be before March, or if, yes, Angela, sorry.
No, it wasn't me actually, but I think if the meeting's in March, what we would have to do, I think, is for people to submit that information probably by the end of January or beginning of February, so that the SACRE, and I suppose the question that we haven't answered is whether the members, and probably Oliver and Marianne have probably done more of the visits than anybody, just to say whether they would be happy to do a telephone call or an online call with a head teacher who'd already produced the material. So they'd have the pack and they were just really doing a follow-up telephone call.
Okay. What's your view on that, Marion, and after Oliver, please?
I'd be very happy to do this, but I think we have to recognise it will change the nature of the SACRE visit, because so much of the conversation seems to me to be a spontaneous response to what we're seeing and watching how children respond, and perhaps asking about posters on the wall, for example. So I think we have to understand that the visit won't be of the same nature. Also, Laurie asked about or suggested having two conversations. That seems to me a lot to ask of a head, to give up time for a conversation twice in their busy schedule, although I think it's a very generous offer. So yes, in summary, I'd be happy to do it, but I think it will feel quite different.
Chair,
thank you, Marion. Oliver?
Yes, I'm very happy, as is Marion, to help out here. And like Marion, it will. I agree, it will be a different sort of meeting. But I think Laurie's suggestion of two meetings is probably based on. I often find when I've got to the school, they haven't really actually understood what it is that we're going to ask, and what it is what's the nature of the meeting. So a short telephone call just to clarify the nature of the meeting might be helpful, I think, for schools. rather than 2 full meetings. But certainly a short meeting to start with would probably be very helpful.
Yeah, but as you could understand, Marion and Oliver, that's not the virtual, your visit to the school. You will be calling them to tell them how to do things.
Well, what it is that we're looking for, I think that's the main thing that I've found is when we arrive at the school, everybody's a bit confused and a bit nervous about what it is that we are expecting from them. And, you know, a quick conversation beforehand, I think, would clarify a lot of these issues and you know, make the whole visit go, as it were, virtual visit go much better.
May I suggest that we do that perhaps as an email, and that could also be used in our collective worship guidance and determination materials, and it could be adapted once COVID is over and real visits can be resumed. But I think, you know, schools do, as you say, Oliver, sometimes feel nervous about this process for all the reasons that I outlined, and they would still be nervous whether people were going in person or whether it was a telephone conversation. So I think you're right, we need to support them really effectively as we can in that respect. I'm sure we can come up with something.
Yeah, I think it's the initial contact that we'll do after this meeting now to say this should be coming up for you, and are you in a position to do it, and this is what we're looking at, and have a conversation. You know, one of us can have a conversation with the school just to make sure that they're clear about what we're saying and it's not too onerous. Actually, the fact that so many schools have got some recorded online assemblies would be, you know, really good actually, because they could be shared with the visiting members if, you know, as part of the pack. So it could be a new way of doing part of this process anyway.
Yes, that's right, Chair. If I can just add to that, I think I've been naively assuming that because schools were open, the assemblies would be, you know, continuing as before. But of course, Laurie pointed out that the way that they're being done, because of the need to keep in bubbles, is by you know, some sort of video being shared among all the classes. So you know, I think if we can master the technology so that a SACRE member can watch that, then the collective worship side of it would be very similar to you know, to a normal inspection, because they would actually be able to see the you know, the assembly happening either live or recorded.
Yeah, it's a very interesting suggestion, Councillor Ball. What do you think, Leslie and Angela?
Fine, you know, I think we have to operate in a way that is able to recognize that the situations that schools find themselves in at the moment, and just, you know, be sympathetic to and reflective of that, and I'm sure we will be.
Okay. Well, so Angela, is there anything else you want to add?
No.
Right. So how we are concluding that? Leslie, could you conclude that?
So, the next step is to contact the schools to say, I can contact the schools through our administrators to say that they're on the list, and to follow up with them and say, we're looking at doing a virtual visit, and here's the determination pack. So it's it's normal process, but with an option for them, because it will depend on their circumstances as to how much capacity they've got to get that ready for the March meeting.
Yes, you are quite right. What do you think, Laurie? There is a lot going on in the schools, and I don't know how you could prioritize in this moment of the time. Lots of things are happening in the school. So I think, Angela, you are right in saying that we could do the initial contact and see how they feel about this determination process.
Yeah, we'll do it very tactfully, Councillor.
Right. Anything else we are covering on that topic? Any question? If not, so now we are on item 12, which is membership update.
No, sorry, we're on item 8. So we've got quite a lot to go through still.
Item 8 is very important. Yes, I could understand. Angela, and you are updating on that.
I am, I think, councillor, but I'm sure Angela will chip in as well. Angela, do you have the paper there or not? No,
no, it's just a verbal update, Leslie.
Okay. One of the things I have done in recent weeks, along with Angela, is to look at all the documents that we can find on the Ealing Grid for Learning, which seem to relate to religious education, collective worship, and in a further category, documents which are about, if you like, the interface between religion and belief and the life of a school. Ealing actually has a wealth of materials, but I'm not sure that they're all in the same place, that schools know that they're there, and perhaps some of them, like the reflection / collective worship document, require some refreshing. So I've had a look to see what's already available and started to compile a list. I think what we want to do is to circulate that to people on the SACRE and get individual members to look at some of those documents and give their views on whether or not they are still fit for purpose. So, for example, and I'm looking at Naif here, there is a document on supporting the needs of Muslim pupils in schools in Ealing. So it covers Ramadan, but PE issues and so on. So that could be, you know, a very useful document. So I think we need to do two things, or three things perhaps. We need to find out what's already there, decide whether it's still fit for purpose and adapt and amend it where necessary, and also ensure that it's available on the website in a place where people can find it. I think, for example, as well, there's guidance about you know, the kirpan in schools. There's guidance on religious observance and festivals. So clearly, you know, religious representatives on groups A and B, we would very much like you to look at what it says about your religion and its festivals and just make sure that you're happy with that. We clearly need input from teachers to ensure that things are fit for purpose. So Angela and I have started to compile that list with links to all the relevant documents. So we're aware that this evening is a very full agenda, so we didn't want to spend too much time on that. We've made a start with a collective worship, but the other things will follow on. But we would be really keen for SACRE members from all groups to be involved where and when you feel it would be appropriate. So, you know, you might be there as a teacher, but you might also be a person of faith. You might be there as a counsellor, but you might also be a person of faith. So you know, we can draw on a wide range of expertise with a SACRE as full as this one of people who've got so much to offer. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Angela. Is that appropriate, what I've said and what we agreed I would say? Angela's gone very quiet.
Angela?
Sorry, yeah, no, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, good.
Right.
So we will circulate that list, which we've started, haven't we, Angela?
Yeah.
Before the next meeting, and then perhaps by the next meeting via email, we can have some sense of who would like to work on which document.
Yeah.
So actually, my understanding is that, Leslie, so you are looking for the reference point of the religion.
Yeah, not only that, but there'll be teachers with expertise about how things are in schools, counsellors, everyone here, everyone on SACRE has equal value. It's an inclusive body, so we would want everyone to be involved, but clearly people will have perhaps specific areas of expertise. So what we plan to do then, just to reiterate this, is to send you the list of the documents and to invite you to perhaps say which of those you feel you might be able to help with and review and potentially revise for us. And then I guess we'll try and get them all into a house style, so they all look like they're from the same stable, and then ensure that they are on a place on the Ealing website where schools will find them. Because I think, there's a lot of really good stuff there, and I wonder how many schools are actually aware that it's available to them.
Right. Thank you, Leslie. Any question on that, the guidance for schools?
Councillor, if I may say something, it's Naif here. Thank you very much. Ms. Leslie, thank you very much for mentioning that point. And just as a heads up, I will be available for any assistance you may require related to Islam, and feel free to send me the information or so forth, or in the group, and I'll liaise with you.
I will look forward to working with you as always.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Any other contribution or question? If not, can we go on item 9, Leslie, about agreed syllabus for RE 2025, which was a very burning subject since last 2 months or 3 months or so. Could you just introduce and let us know where we are on that?
I'm just going to speak very briefly about this and then hand over to Mirella and Emma, who will feed back from the primary and secondary RE subject networks. But members will recall that we had a meeting where you voted on the new agreed syllabus, and it was passed to Cabinet on the 13th of October. Where Cabinet approved it. So it is now legally the agreed syllabus for religious education in Ealing. Before I hand over to my colleagues, I just want to say that, of course, it takes time, not least in the current circumstances, for schools to take on board the requirements of a new initiative like this. So I think it's the beginning of a process. It's not going to be a case of schools, finding out on the 14th of October that this was the RE document and suddenly revising everything they do to fit with it. I think the good news is that the Ealing syllabus has as a key part of it schemes of learning, which have been tried and tested in classrooms and are being developed still further by some of our teachers. So, we have the syllabus in place now, and the process of implementation is underway. So is it appropriate for me then to hand over to Mirella, I think, who's going to talk about what's going on in the primary RE network, and then Emma, who's going to speak about secondary.
Rola?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'd like to share a PowerPoint if that's okay, because I've just included the points of the report that I wrote with regards to what's happening in schools. I'm just waiting for permission. Katie, please.
Yeah, permission's been given, Mirella.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to. Okay, something is happening that probably I'm not able to. I don't know. Can you see my screen? Can people see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yeah. Okay, I was panicking there. Okay, we met on the 15th of October with primary schools, it was quite an impressive meeting. We had about 13 people who attended there, including and myself, 14. And obviously the discussions were focused on the new agreed syllabus for the RE 2025. And there were lots of healthy discussions in there. And we started with legal requirements for RE. This was important because we had at least 65–70% of people who participated who were new in the role, and they needed to know what was happening. We also focused on expectations set out in the new agreed syllabus 2020-25. And from that meeting, I got the impression that colleagues were familiar with all the expectations. So that's good news because people are reading our curriculum. There were lots of compliments about our new curriculum, and I've highlighted there with regards to the new curriculum being considered as the best in Ealing so far. Additionally to that, I have received a couple of emails from some other boroughs looking at, could we borrow your curriculum, which is lovely. It made me feel good. And again, thanks to all people who were involved, SACRE group, Angela, Andrew from Roehampton Institute, University, Laurie Greengrass as well was involved in reviewing with lots of feedback there. So there were other head teachers as well, but Laurie has been attending every review meeting basically, which is good. We talked about implementation because obviously the worry about the school from the schools is when are we expected to implement the new curriculum? And as Leslie said rightly, it will take time to implement a new curriculum, and especially in these times it will take a bit longer. But we have given a guidance to the schools what will happen with that. What I noticed in that meeting from what people were saying is that schools are at different points of implementation. We have schools that have started already working on a new curriculum, but we have schools that are a little bit reluctant, maybe still kind of using the old curriculum and probably planning to start next term. And at this stage, the schools had a couple of concerns, especially with how they're going to map out what is required in the new curriculum, what materials they need to use, strategies that they need to adopt, plus planning for the lesson planning for the new curriculum. And also there were a couple of issues in terms of they want to take the school leaders on board. Sometimes, we know that a responsibility like this is given to the teachers, and that's it, you get on with it. So including the school leaders and the governing body will be a useful thing to do. I've given the schools also advice. There was a list that I downloaded from NATRE website with regards to how the governing body as well can get involved with the RE curriculum, and that will be useful. Another concern that the schools expressed was obviously during COVID-19, what we're going to do, how we're going to visit the places of worship. And again, I shared some advice with them with regards to that. Advice that has been provided by NATRE. The timeline that we have introduced to the schools is that in autumn 2020 there will be a slow change, and spring 2021. That is that schools probably in this phase will try to adjust and will try to trial the new curriculum. They will try units probably, not or parts of units. They will review and they will adopt their own lessons or their own materials, resources that they've got, including textbooks, which is important. There was quite a long discussion about textbooks because it is important that the schools realize that you can't just rely on whatever it is provided on a website. It's important to have a good range of textbooks that children should be using in the RE lessons. And of course, at this stage, there is a lot of need about CPD audits in schools, and that is what I've advised the schools to start where they are. What are the needs for the CPD and how they can plan for those CPD needs. At a later stage, summer 2021, there will be the implementation phase continuing into probably the next year. But by the end of summer term, we would expect that people should have taught probably 2 to 4 units of the of the new curriculum per year group. And this obviously it is a much quicker change when the the curriculum, the old curriculum starts kind of not being used anymore, but the new curriculum is the norm in schools. We talked about how the good teaching of the RE would look like. There was a lot of discussion, but what we kind of agreed that it is important that teachers are confident in pedagogy, in subject knowledge, and schools monitoring and evaluation of the RE. And I've outlined. I have outlined here some of the points that we talked about, the implementation of the curriculum. Additionally to these, I've given schools also some materials of good teaching on RE, good teaching of RE in early years, for example, and loads of ideas, questioning in RE, meeting the needs of most able in RE, and so on. Another thing that we focused on is something that has been taking place from last term, resources available for the new curriculum. And as you all are aware, schools have been working on the new lesson plans. Laurie, for example, helped us with all the units and the lessons regarding the Jewish faith, and this work is continuing at the moment. Schools still are working with it, and they still are sending me lessons to upload on the drive. Schools will have access to. They have access to the Google Drive. You can see here, for example, you can see that they will have access to loads of resources, but lesson plans has got its own place. Also available for schools at the moment is Ealing Grid for Learning, as Leslie mentioned and Angela earlier on. There are loads and loads of resources in Ealing Grid for Learning and guidance so that the schools can actually refer to, and as well as lots of RE links. As regarding the professional development of the RE coordinators or other teachers, we have planned network meetings, the usual network meetings that take place in each term. I am actually looking at training that is already planned, but I'm just looking at people who can provide training for people, because that was clearly a need for all people who attended on that day. They were concerned about their subject knowledge and they want to develop that. But also part of the support and the professional development for these schools will be also signposting them to resources and support, which will be through updates that we send to schools, through network meetings, through the resources that we will put on we'll continue to update on the website that we've got. These are the useful links that I've shared with the schools. And also on that day, the schools received a pack. These are some of the informations that I've, some of the papers that I provided in that pack. Next meeting is on the 11th of March 2021. We all agreed that we needed to talk about the assessment in RE. And we agreed that colleagues will bring examples of pupils' work, planning and assessment policies, because there is no point of continuing doing all this work and then there are no assessment policy, for example, or maybe they can incorporate it with other assessment policies that they've got in school. But this meeting will be very much an opportunity to share good practice, either with assessments in RE or implementation. Implementation bit also will be a way for me to monitor how far they've gone with the implementation of the curriculum. That's why I've asked the colleagues to bring work or to share in that meeting how far they've gone to date with the implementation of the curriculum. And that's me done. So any questions I'm happy to take.
Oh, thank you so much, Mirala. Thank you for all your work and your networking with the primary school RE network. Yeah. Is there any question on that, please? Right. So there is no question on that. I have got one question, Leslie. So Leslie, do you think we have got enough resources available to support the schools in terms of implementation of that new syllabus?
It sounds to me as if Mirella has done wonderful work with her support for the network, and they will in turn support each other. I think it's great that the local authority is supporting those meetings. That's hugely helpful to schools. And it's clearly a work in progress. I note what you say, Mirella, about the need for people to improve their own subject knowledge. Certainly one of the things I've done in some of the other local authorities where I work is invite faith group representatives from SACRE to come and meet teachers and answer their questions, maybe give a little presentation if they feel comfortable about that. But Mirella, you're obviously highly skilled and you don't need me to tell you how to do those things, because I'm sure you've thought of them all yourself.
Thank you very much. I just forgot to say something which was really, it came out of that meeting. At the end of the meeting, or normally I ask in all my network meetings, I ask people if they would be able to share their emails with each other. And that was a common kind of agreement that yes, we would like to share the emails because we would like this network to continue outside the normal networks. And I know that because I receive emails and questions all the time. And Leslie, thank you for helping with some of the questions that I haven't got a clue. But anyway, so what I have received very recently is a couple of emails that people have told me they have that they have been not visiting, but they have been in touch with each other. So that's another way that Ealing in a way is distinguished, that schools collaborate with each other, which is absolutely the key for development and implementation of the curriculum. But thank you, Leslie, also for all the questions you've answered on my behalf as well, which is good. Because I need to develop my subject knowledge too on RE. I'm a history teacher, but still I need to. So.
I think you clearly know what you're doing, but if you need any support from me, you know where to find me.
Oh,
thank you very much.
Thank you for Mirella once again. Yes, Liz, do you have any question?
I do. I just want to say a big thank you to Mirella. It's so encouraging to hear about the network and about your work, Mirella, with the teachers and coordinators. It's really, really encouraging, particularly in these times when it's hard for schools. I can just imagine that the schools are absolutely delighted to have such a well written syllabus and such excellent guidance and help, support via means of Mirella. So thank you, Mirella. Wonderful.
Thank you very much, Lizzie, and for your email. I haven't had a chance to respond to you.
It's fine. It's fine. I just.
Yeah. Can I just say something though, because I would need probably to work a little bit more with people in schools, because I realize that a couple of people who have been responsibility for RE are TAs, teaching assistants, and we need actually to ensure that we need to have qualified teachers to run this work. Because what I learned is that these TAs have been given the curriculum and you go and run with it and nobody sees it in a way. In some examples, not all. I'm not generalizing because it wouldn't be fair for all schools. But that's my next goal basically, to see who actually is teaching RE, who is leading RE in schools, because it will depend very much on the knowledge of these people and qualification as well. We might have HLTAs, teaching assistants, who are very, very creative and very able to do it. But I think it's important to raise the profile of RE.
Right. Thank you, Mirella. Councillor Raza, please.
Here we go. Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Leslie was saying, actually, Mirella. Thank you so much. It was a very impressive piece of work that you talked us through, and so much of it. And the thing about the networks and the support, I mean, I'm a governor at a couple of our schools, and I know that sort of network amongst the schools themselves is so very important, especially now when they're kind of asking each other how they're doing things, and that know-how is being shared. So well done for getting that ball rolling, because quite often it just takes a little someone to bring everybody together and have an informal network where they can talk to each other. So I just really wanted to congratulate you, really, because that's a fantastic best practice, and look forward to seeing it go from strength to strength, really.
Thank you, Dr. Raza. I have help though. I've got Angela helping me all the time, and Leslie, and the SACRE group, and Laurie as well, who helps sometimes, you know, with the lessons and ideas. So it's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirella. But what I want to take one interesting idea, Leslie. Once you said the faith leaders, and faith leaders are working with RE teachers. That's very interesting idea. I must say that. Sorry, Leslie.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I think it, as I say, it's worked well in other authorities' networks of a similar kind. You know, for example, in Harrow, some teachers were saying they had to teach about humanism, and they weren't very confident about that. So the SACRE member for humanism came and made a contribution to one of the network meetings, and yeah, people really benefit from that. And also then the relationships between people representing the different faiths and beliefs on a SACRE with the schools are strengthened. And then when it is possible to make visits to places of worship and so on, you can contact the SACRE person because you've met them and you know them. And I think, you know, that's really reassuring for schools.
Interesting stuff. We will see what we can do in Ealing. Yes, now I would
Here, can you hear me, Councillor Mida?
Yes, Councillor Mida, please. You want to say something?
Yeah, I want to say.
Go on.
I was just listening to Marilla. I want to say to Marilla, she done fantastic job. Her briefing is really very helpful. I want to say in the future, she can do more for the people. She done very nice. Congratulate to her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mida. Now we need to go, and Emma, could you just brief us and update us? What is the feeling on the ground on secondary schools, please?
Yeah, of course. Can you all hear me?
Yes, very well.
Excellent. Firstly, sorry I joined it. I came directly from Parents' Evening, so sorry I wasn't here for the whole conversation, but I caught what Marilla said, which was really helpful. I had a meeting yesterday with the secondary network. The turnout wasn't quite as high as primary network because we had lots of schools have Parents' Evening yesterday, so lots of schools sent their apologies. So we had about 7 or 8 schools in attendance. The main bit of feedback is that the schools overwhelmingly said that they really like the syllabus and that they like how broad it is. One thing that was mentioned repeatedly was Hinduism. They really enjoyed the Hinduism planning as a particular element of it. I talked to the different teachers about how prepared they feel moving forward with implementing this by the summer, and mentioning the idea of it being a transition period. All the schools feel quite confident. There was one school that feels slightly less confident because it's a new subject leader and they're 1 member of staff short. So at the moment she's feeling quite stretched. She's a bit worried about it. So that will be my next step for the next meeting in March, will be to how we can work together to support that member of staff as well. Like what Marella said, we're going to try and use the Google Drive a bit more. I think we're quite good as a network at sharing GCSE and A-level resources, but now our step needs to be moving towards sharing Key Stage 3 resources and focus on the new locally agreed syllabus. I think secondary schools are in maybe a slightly tricky position at the moment, that there's a lot of focus on the GCSE and A-level exams and helping year 11 and year 13 catch up with missed content. There's a danger, I think, that some schools might take the foot off the gas a little bit with Key Stage 3. So I want next network meeting to be just focused on the Key Stage 3 and focus on the progress that was made with the locally agreed syllabus. Because a lot of our conversations revolve around A-level, GCSE, how we can help the students to catch up, and if the exams go forward as is being planned, helping the students to get the best grades possible. That's all well and good and it's really important, but we also have to make sure the locally agreed syllabus is implemented next year. What was the other thing? Oh, they spotted that one of the schools spotted there's a really good textbook that actually mirrors quite well the content we've got in the syllabus, and it's a textbook by Hodder, and it's called Explore RE for Key Stage 3. And it's something I'm going to buy a copy of myself and use as kind of a resource to try and support the different schools with the subject knowledge.
Right. Okay, Emma, thank you for your update. Is there any question from Emma?
Can I just say something, please?
Yes, Marilla, go on.
Yeah, Emma and I, we're going to work together, actually. I forgot to mention that, Emma. We're going to work together also because Emma is expert on RE, I'm not. So Emma might help primary schools as well to set up some planning, and we can do some training for primary teachers as well. So I forgot that link with the secondary schools.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. I look forward to working with you.
So Emma, what you are saying is the network is not that large than primary school?
I can't remember the exact number. I think Morella said maybe 13 schools were in attendance. I just said we had a slightly smaller number. We had about 7. We would have had about 10 to 13, but there were schools that had parents' evening. Some schools had SMSC meetings, so social, moral, spiritual development meetings. So kind of related to RE anyway, but it's just that some of the heads of RE have 2 separate roles.
Well, okay, Emma, I know it's a bit difficult to work in secondary school than primary school. So I must say that thank you so much for all the work you are doing it and getting feedback from them. So please do continue their work. Is there no question from Emma? So I will go on the next point, which is the teaching material and training update. Who is covering that? Merola, would you like to say something on that?
Yeah, very. Oh, sorry. Okay, Leslie, do you want to continue?
I was just going to say that in a sense we've covered that, haven't we? Or is there
Yeah.
something else to report?
Yeah, just wanted to say that for every, we've got lessons ready for at least 4 units for each year group, except for early years, we've got lessons and resources for all units that have been covered in the new syllabus. So schools are ready actually to at least teach 4 units per year group. And that is being updated, as I said earlier on.
Thank you.
Right. On that point, is there any comments from the teachers group, which is related to the teaching material, or any comments from any member? Yes, please.
Glad to hear Emma say about SMSC, because that's still figuring high in Ofsted's look, with the new Ofsted framework. And for a while, they have recommended schools to go for the SMSC quality mark, which is a self checklist which helps schools to identify where they need to improve. Now, this just emerged, I think, after the school I was heading, a primary. We did a 3-year focus on the S in spiritual, moral, social and cultural, and it took me by surprise how engaged the staff and parents and children were. It was a low-key thing, but I'm really pleased to see that Ofsted are promoting this quality mark. I'm pleased to see that people are seeing the links with British values and with also now the emerging concerns about children being groomed more during lockdown for terrorism and sexual exploitation. And I think schools are just doing an amazing job. But I was thrilled to hear from Emma that SMSC is figuring because really it's at the heart, spiritual formation of children done in a proper way is at the heart of development of the whole child. So, yeah, thank you.
Right. Thanks for your update, Liz. If there is no other question and remarks on that point, hello. Yeah. So now we will be covering item 10, which is SACRE Annual Report 2019-20. And Leslie, I will be very thankful if you could update me on that.
Thank you, Councillor Mahmood. As long-standing members of SACRE will know, it's one of our duties to produce an annual report which covers the academic year that's just gone and highlights the work of the SACRE. So it's really just a summary of what we've done in the meetings. So you've had that, I think, as part of the agenda papers in advance of the meeting. So I hope everyone's had a chance to look at it. I don't think there's anything controversial there, so if anyone has any points to raise in terms of accuracy, perhaps you can do so in a little while. I have tried to add in, wherever possible, electronic links to key documents and so on, because I think if people do receive this electronically, it's really helpful for them to be able to click on that information as they read through. So yeah, we've got something on what happened with the examinations, which of course didn't take place. It'll be interesting to see whether they take place this coming summer, because in other parts of the United Kingdom there have already been announcements to say that they won't. We've listed information about the network meetings, and we've covered the determinations that we've conducted, the reviews of those. And yeah, there's just a list of membership and contact officers and so on. And yeah, members, the most important people of all. And at the end, you'll see a list of schools with determination. So that's a very useful table for us to have. So yeah, I just commend that report to you. It goes to the Department for Education, to the National Association of SACREs, and of course to key stakeholders for the subject in Ealing. So it should go to schools, it should go to the council itself, and perhaps to others like governors and so on who might be interested in reading what's going on. So I hope that's helpful. As I say, it's just a standard duty that we have to complete each year. And so I've done a draft, and other people have added information that I couldn't supply, and I'm very grateful to them for doing so. Does anyone have any questions or comments or points that they've noticed of any inaccuracy? I'm going to assume silence is assent.
Very good, Leslie. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so if we are happy with this draft report, the end 2019-20, I will be moving on item 11, which is review of Ealing SACRE Constitution, of which we have been working for a long time now. So Angela or Leslie, I'm not sure. Are you both sharing that item? To know where we are in terms of our constitution.
Do you want me to talk about it, Leslie?
Yes, please, Angela.
Okay, so the constitution document that we have, it's also linked. It's a legal document which explains how we actually are running SACRE. And I think the version that we've got is a bit like we were saying about the other guidance, is a little bit unclear, and we just need to make sure that we are constituted properly and that we have clear roles and responsibilities and procedures for things. So this document really just gives the background to it. And I've just really gone through it, and so I won't spend too long on this now, but it's just really to make sure, again, our document is fit for purpose. So we don't really in R1, so we've got some where we are in R1 and then what perhaps could be improved about it. So we don't really have a summary of the legal background to the Constitution and SACRE, which I think we probably should have. The roles and duties are there, but some of the wording might need to be a little bit more accurate in terms of relating to the legalities. Membership, there is information there, but what we don't have any information on is co-opted. Well, we have a separate section on co-opted members. It's just trying to make it a slightly more efficient document. So, and one of the areas that we might look at is the teachers' associations and say, does that have to be a trade union, or could it be the Ealing Partnership or the network of primary teachers, or primary head teachers, or whatever, but that would be obviously a consultation. Some of the wording in our current document is inaccurate, and the unions have changed since the document was set up. So that's something to have a look at.
Angela, that I did, I think, consult with the DFE about your point. Could teachers come from associations other than the unions? And I was advised by an official there that would indeed be possible. So if we wanted to seek additional teacher membership, we could do so from the primary and secondary networks, and presumably, there's some sort of special school grouping in the authority as well. So we might look for special school representation too.
Yeah. Our term of office sentence is very complicated about the election of the council, and so that may be something that we could reword. What I'm doing is having a meeting with the legal department just for them to cast their eyes over it and to give some advice as well. How people stop being a member, and on vacancies and attendance, we have very complicated wording, and it's just not very clear. And it's not very clear about who follows up on membership and attendance and vacancies. And we are making quite a bit of progress on that, but I just think it would be easier when we're going forward if we have a document that someone can pick up and understand quite easily about who's meant to do what. The deputies, we have a very complicated thing about deputies, whereas I think the idea of that is just that you can send somebody else if you can't come yourself. So just making it a bit clear. The role of the chair and the vice chair, our constitution doesn't explain what the person's meant to do. And as we have a rotating chair, I think that would be helpful to have some advice about that. And also then we have situations where we have the clerk from Democratic Services, and we also have other people from the local authority like myself, like our business support and Morella and so forth, that again is a little bit unclear, and I think we could make that clearer. Voting, we do have a system in place for that, but again could be slightly clearer. Then the bits that we're actually fine about are all the bits around the running a council meeting. Because it is classified as a council meeting, but I think part of the problem with SACRE is it's a council meeting, but with a difference. So that's really just to say that we're in the process of going to review this document, and again, if there are members who are interested in taking part in that, then we will be in contact, and it will also be circulated to everybody. So the change document, if we do change it, has to be agreed by SACRE, but it also has to be agreed by the council, because it is, and one of the things we haven't done, I think, is the council members are agreed by the council, but actually all the members should be agreed by the council and minuted somewhere. So there's just some legal proceedings as well that we just need to make sure are in place correctly.
Right. Okay, Angela, thank you very much. And I think as far as I remember last time, we reviewed that constitution in 2016. So it needs to be reviewed now, and thank you for taking that action. Anything else you want to add, Leslie?
I don't think so. Are we seeking approval, Angela, of SACRE members for the suggested changes? That
No, we haven't got to that point. This is just this was just initial thoughts, and I think that the next stage is I'm meeting with the person from the legal department, and then either, a small group really needs to then look at it and be involved in deciding. So we need to bring some proposals really to the next meeting about areas. So this was just an initial summary of the things that I thought, looking at other constitutions, would make the document a bit clearer.
Yeah, and we've also used the exemplar supplied by the National Association of SACREs, haven't we?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela, for doing that work. And please update us in the next meeting. Thank you for covering that item. Is there any question on that?
Yes, Oliver Murphy, if I could make a comment, if that's okay.
Please go ahead.
First of all, I think it's great stuff, Angela. Thank you very much for starting that. I have actually made some comments on the document. Are you interested in my sending it on to you?
Definitely, yes, definitely.
One thing I did notice was the proposal to elect the chair by the SACRE members, which I thought was an unexpected outbreak of democracy. Is the council not wanting to retain control of that?
No, that might have been just an example. That's probably a bit buried. I probably don't even know that's in there, because that probably is in our current constitution, the chair is always a member of the council group. So that's probably, well, we could change it. We could change it. Whether members would want to do that is another question.
I mean, as a point of information, some SACREs always have a councillor as chair, and with others, the chair is elected by the members and can come from any group, but that varies from SACRE to SACRE.
Yeah. Thank you very much. If there is, Oliver, could you please, by all means, send that recommendation and your remarks to Angela. Thank you so much, Angela, once again. So if we have covered that topic, now we are on a membership update.
I had a quick question, Chair.
Sorry, Lakshman, go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask again how when if a member can't attend or is unable to attend for any longer. I know there are certain religions have got various denominations. How do you decide who to go to get a new appointee?
Yeah, Lakshman, that's the good question, and that's the we are just covering in the next item under membership update. Yeah, no problem. You're ahead than us. Yeah. Okay. Angela, could you just introduce the membership update? And
yeah, I mean, that very point Lakshman's just made is quite important, because one of the things that we have struggled a bit is about the membership and how we cover vacancies and follow up, and do we have an organisation to go to? And I know that does vary from group to group. But so this is just a summary, and the highlighted ones are showing the vacancies. So we've currently got 4 vacancies in the Church of England. We've got some in Group A, so the African Caribbean Church. And the point about who do we contact is I don't think we do have a very thorough list of contact details for some of the religions, but I know Councillor Mahmood is going to come in because he's been doing some interfaith work and has got some contacts. But so we've had the vacancies for a while, and then we also had a few people who have not been attending. So actually, Mr. Motz now has actually resigned. And he's given a contact to the Liberals synagogue to get a replacement. So that we're sort of on the case of that. But some of the other people, we don't even have contact details for them. So if anybody does have contact details for any of these people, then it would be useful to know those. But so what we've got at the bottom here is our current structure of the membership, and have we got details of their authorising body? So we do for all of the groups, but for only a small number of the Group A. The vacancies, again, we don't have, but Councillor Mahmood's going to come on to that. And then the non-attendance, it was to say about authorising this. Again, our constitution's quite complicated about how somebody who has it, but none of these people have been for 2 years. So it's just making an assumption that that's indicating that they don't want to be a member or can't be a member for whatever reason, and to then turn them into a vacancy and then try and recruit somebody new into their place. And I think Councillor Mahmood's got an update on that. So it's really looking at how we follow up on the vacancies. The Church of England particularly, and it would be interesting to hear from Mark and Mark about following up, because we do have 4 vacancies in the Church of England group, and what any recommendations for getting new members for that group.
Yeah. Thank you, Angela, for update. I'm just updating you. So since last couple of weeks, I have started contacting I'm a part of Ealing Faith Task Group as well. So we fortnightly meet with different community and faith leader. So I'm just contacting the peoples on the group of the category. They are not coming regularly, and their representatives are not active. So I have requested them to just recruit new representatives. So we are in the process of that. I have contacted African Caribbean Church as well, which is one church is active in London Borough of Ealing. So I am with communication with them as well. So we just need to revise the membership. And like Lakshman, you said, if the representatives are not coming to participate for such a long time, so what's the point to get the membership? So that is, we need to revise all the membership structure as well. Yeah, and I just contacted Guru Nanak Sabha Gurdwara Southall, and they are happy to nominate a new representative as well. So this is a work in progress, and I will update you in a couple of weeks' time. And I think in terms of Church of England, I think there are 2 representatives are here in this meeting. Are they? Angela?
Chair, I think Mark.
Yes. Yes, I'm here, Councillor.
Mark Newton is here, so.
Yes. With regard to Church of England places, would it be appropriate to approach teachers from our Ealing schools? Because we do have a few Ealing schools with teachers who I'm familiar with. Would that be an appropriate route, Leslie?
Okay.
Yes, we could certainly ask people who teach in Church of England schools and are perhaps practicing Anglicans themselves if they would be willing to serve on the Church of England group. And the advantage of that would be not only do they bring their Church of Englandness, if you like, but they are also serving teachers who are familiar with the territory that we discuss and the terminology that we use and so on. So I think that could be a very helpful way forward.
Would that be something you'd like me to go ahead with?
Okay.
Councillor Mahmood, would that be something you'd like me to go ahead with and actually directly approach schools?
That will
some
be
of
very
the
helpful.
C of E schools?
Yeah, that will be very helpful, please.
Okay.
As you know that
Okay.
Church of England schools are very famous and very much in demand in our borough.
Mark, I'll be happy to follow up with you about that as well, so we can work on the best way of doing that. The other thing I have done is produced a kind
Thanks,
of
Angela.
two-page introduction to SACRE, because I realised there wasn't really anywhere that explained what SACRE is, and so I've sent that. It was too late to put on the meeting actually, but I've sent it to Tarek, and I'm happy to circulate that to people to see if there's anything else. So it gives some links to all the websites so people can look at the notes and everything, but it just gives a little bit of simple background to what SACRE is, if you can explain it in a simple way, because it's quite complicated.
Okay.
But I've got that, and that could be handed out to schools as well.
Angela, would you be able to take the lead and sort of email me direct? And
of course I can, yes. Yeah, I can do. Yeah, I will do that, Mark. Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait for you to make contact.
Yeah,
Thanks.
lovely. I will do.
So in terms of Church of England vacancies, Mark, you will be working with Angela in terms of coordination, yeah?
Yes, thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other question in terms of membership?
Yeah, I mean, Councillor Mahmood, it's David Milliken here. I mean, I think that discussion is quite an interesting one, because all I'm a governor at one of the Church of England high schools, Ealing Fields, and there's a chaplain covers all of the Twyford schools. So, I mean, that's quite an interesting idea, actually. I don't know whether, for life of me, whether he'd want to take part on this, but you know, he's a ordained priest, and he works in the schools. So it's quite an interesting idea, actually.
Right. Okay. Thanks for your contribution, Councillor Milliken.
Chair?
Yes, Councillor Mida.
Sorry, I'm leaving now. Good night.
Okay, good night. Thanks for your contribution,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Mida. Right. Okay, if we cover that membership, now we are the last item, which is national and local update of SACRE briefing. Leslie, would you be happy to cover that, please?
I will, and I shall be brief. The briefing from the National Association of SACREs has been circulated with the agenda papers, so I think it's little point in me actually going through it in any detail, but I do want to mention the extraordinary general meeting of SACRE, which takes place soon, next week actually, on the 17th of November. SACRE members may recall that SACRE holds an annual general meeting and conference for a day in central London or another key city. Unfortunately, of course, because of the pandemic, that was cancelled this last summer. So this is a shorter replacement version of that, and it would be really good if someone from this SACRE would be willing to represent Ealing and attend that, and we need to have our acting chair endorsed, so that would be really helpful if someone could attend on our behalf. It's a 2-hour event on Tuesday. The only other thing I want to report under item 13, which is not to do with this briefing, is that a new report, which has also been circulated with your papers, has been issued just in the last 2 or 3 weeks, called Worldviews in Religious Education. Those of you who've been SACRE members for a while will remember that a couple of years ago we talked about the RE Council's Commission on RE and its proposals for the subject in the future. And one of its proposals was that the subject should be renamed and no longer called religious education, but be called religion and worldviews. And this report talks about what might be meant by that term worldview. So I think it's of interest to teachers and helps them to reflect on perhaps, you know, what they're teaching and how they're teaching it, but also for SACRE members. We've just reviewed in Ealing the agreed syllabus, so it won't inform that work, but it's just an indication of some of the discussions going on nationally about the nature of the subject. So if you've got some spare time after this very long meeting and probably a very long day in total, you might want to curl up in bed with worldviews and religious education. And if not that, then at some later stage, but I recommend that you look at that.
Thank you, Leslie. It's very nicely wrap up. And is there any question on that with Leslie?
Hello, yes. Could I possibly ask Leslie, I did read the executive summary, very interesting. I thought they had a slightly different interpretation of worldviews from the CORE report. But where can one get hold of the full report? Because this is just an executive summary.
The full report is available on the Theos website. And a week or two ago, there was also a webinar where the authors were discussing the document with some other contributors and an audience. And that, I believe, was recorded. So the link should be available on the Theos website too. So Theos is a think tank looking at religion in public life. So
Oliver, the link to the main report is in, you know, the agenda items. That's the kind of council cover sheet for each item on the agenda. At the back of that is the link, is in that document.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much indeed.
If you can't find it, Oliver, get back to me and I'll send you the link, but it should be fairly easy to locate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, let's go on, please. Yeah.
Leslie, if nobody else wants to go, I am available for those 2 hours on Tuesday for the EGM. If I could just have a bit of guidance, if there's anything that you want me to do apart from attend and vote.
Yes. I think, yeah, that would be great. I think, is there a fee or is it free of charge? I can't remember.
Oh, right. I don't know, book places.
But Ealing normally covers the cost. I should say that people might think, oh, it's rather awful of an organisation to ask for a fee if it's a virtual meeting rather than a meeting in person. But I've learned, as no doubt many of you have, all sorts of new things during lockdown. And one is that some virtual meetings do cost quite a lot of money to set up. Because of the technological support that's needed to ensure, you know, the voting is secure and that there are breakout rooms and so on. So some administrative costs are still part of the package. But Ealing is usually very generous and sends someone to the annual event. And this is the annual event, albeit virtual. So
well, so all I'm saying is I notice tomorrow is the closing date. So if somebody in the LA offices wants to book me on, I'm quite happy to attend and send in.
Okay, we can follow up, Liz. Would you? We can book you on that.
If you want to. I just happen to be free on Tuesday that time.
That's great, thank you.
It is free. It is free to SACRE members.
Okay, great.
Okay, we haven't paid our bill, but I think we have now. So
great. Great.
Thanks for coming forward, Liz, and I'm sure all members and SACRE will support you on that. If there is no other question, Lakshman, yes, please, go on.
Sorry to drag this on a little bit longer. Going back to the membership point, I'm a Theravada Buddhist, and there are three main Buddhist kind of groups: Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. And I kind of noted that no one really drilled me into thinking, not to think just in the Theravada way of thinking, because I as a Buddhist need to really represent the other sects as well. So I would like to think that if the next, whoever takes over from me may be Mahayana, that somebody who could discreetly point out that really we're here to represent, all of the different little groups within our sections. That would be helpful.
Right.
I think you make a very good point that when you're on a SACRE, you are there not simply as yourself, but representing the wider community, in your case, the wider Buddhist community. So in that sense, it's not unlike sitting on a governing body where you might be there as a particular type of governor, but actually you've got the needs of everyone in the school at heart. So yeah, I think that's true. No one can ever be truly representative of everything in their group or tradition or constituency, but you have to try and take that into account. So that's a very thoughtful and sensitive point. Lakshman, thank you.
I think it's something we can note when we're looking at the constitution and also looking at the membership and asking for new members, because and that's also something the council is meant to, with the members, to have a way of kind of trying to confirm that people do represent their own religion. But if it is a broader variations, then that would be included with that person as well. So I think it is an important point for us to note as to how we capture that in some way.
Right. Thank you, Lakshman. Thanks very much for that point. So if there is no other question, and that is the end of the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very thankful for you for giving that much time, and I'm very thankful for the officer, especially Katie and her team, which is working behind the screen and making this thing possible. I'm very thankful for all the officers, Leslie, Angela, and all of the people who have contributed that. And just wanted to tell you our next meeting will take place on Tuesday, 2nd of March, 7 p.m. Keep finger crossed. We will be meeting Percival House physically, hopefully, with a cup of teas and other refreshment. So keep your faith in, and hope to see you on Tuesday, 2nd of March at Percival House. I wish you all the best and hope to see you soon.
Happy Diwali.
Thank you very much.
Celebrating.
Happy Diwali and good night to all.
Happy Diwali and Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year. Bye for now.